Welcome to the Retiring Canada podcast, where our mission is to educate and empower you to make the most informed, rational, and productive financial decisions. Hosted by certified financial planner, author, and chartered investment manager Michael Isbister. You'll go behind the scenes to uncover the tips and strategies to help you invest smarter, optimize your retirement income, and reduce the amount of tax you pay. Michael is an investment advisor with Fundamental Wealth, a trade name of Harbourfront Wealth Management, a CERO dealer. And now, here's your host, Michael Isbister.
Hello everyone, and welcome again to the Retiring Canada podcast. In today's episode, we're going to discuss planning strategies when one spouse retires before the other. Specifically, I'm going to chat about developing a staggered retirement plan, 8 planning strategies to implement during this time, the non-financial benefit of a staggered retirement, opportunities you don't want to leave on the table, and lastly, as always, a few action items for you to consider. More often than not, couples we meet and work with do not retire at the same time. It is way more common for couples to have a staggered retirement date, oftentimes a few-year gap in between each of their actual retirements. In some cases, this may be directly related to finances, specifically the higher income earning spouse grinding it out for a few more years to pay off a few more of those final expenses before retirement, to maybe help out their adult children with college or to get their first home, or maybe they work longer to beef up their pension for a few more years, or maybe they just aren't ready to pull the trigger and actually fully retire. I always really enjoy chatting with couples where one spouse has already retired and is getting into the swing of things of this next chapter of life, while the other spouse is still showing up day after day at their career or business. It is an interesting dynamic and one that, in my mind, actually really makes a lot of sense. For one, it allows the household to adapt to this change over the course of a few months or even years, and helps to solidify the first retiring spouse's routine, hobbies, and new reality. It frees up their time to plan the next chapter when their other spouse will retire, and helps to set the stage for a smoother transition for both. The working spouse also gets to experience and learn about that retirement transition secondhand from their loved one, and perhaps take away a few positive or negative aspects that they can apply or change as they set the stage for their inevitable retirement. As that transition within the household takes place and both spouses start to paint the picture of what retirement will look like, there are multiple planning opportunities couples in this scenario should be taking advantage of. So with that, let's go through a few strategies you should consider when one spouse retires and the other keeps working for a few more years. Number 1, the spouse who retires first should still be optimizing their tax brackets and potentially withdrawing funds from their taxable accounts. More often than not, at this stage of life, with the mortgage paid off and lifestyle spending refined over the years together, these couples can often support their needs completely with the income of the working spouse, often with some room to spare. So many take the default option and keep the non-working spouse's income very low, which is a significant missed opportunity. If the non-working spouse has little to no income, you should still consider triggering some taxable income through RRSP redemptions as an example. At the very least, you should fill up some of the lower tax brackets with withdrawals to unlock some of that taxable income. Number 2, if there are assets held individually, whether it be an investment account, a rental property, or land, consider triggering gains to produce some taxable income and reset the cost base of your investments, specifically within investment accounts. If you have physical real estate or land and you have been considering divesting these properties, this window of time represents a great opportunity to capitalize on a lower tax bill when income is low. Number 3 is clearly mapping out your CPP and OAS start dates. Just because you are retired and say 60 years old doesn't necessarily mean the non-working spouse should start CPP. Rather, this may present itself as a great opportunity to in fact delay the benefit to 65 or later to help with the first strategy I discussed, optimizing drawdowns and tax brackets. For the working spouse who, let's say for argument's sake, is older and past age 65, is there really a need for that income today? Or would it simply drive you into a higher marginal tax bracket? Developing the CPP and OAS timing is unique to each and every household, so ensure you do your due diligence and understand what dates make the most sense. This is especially important when spouses have staggered retirement dates and taxable income is disproportionate. Number 4. Ensure the TFSA accounts are maximized and invested with the right goals in mind. When one spouse is still working, this is a great time to put the final touches on your investment accounts to ensure things are in good order. That means ensuring things like the TFSA are maximized and also that the underlying investments align with their overall drawdown strategy. For many of the retirees who come to work with us, we discover that between pensions, investment accounts, rental incomes, and more, that the TFSAs have a very small likelihood of ever being accessed, and thus could represent a great source to invest in growth assets to maximize the accounts over the long run. Again, not a strategy for everyone, but one that should be considered in the broader context of creating a retirement plan. Number 5, ensure the portfolios are prepared for drawdowns. In my last episode, 84, I discussed this in detail. For spouses who have staggered retirements, developing the drawdown portfolio will also be staggered. For the non-working spouse, the implementation of the drawdown needs to happen sooner, while the drawdown for the working spouse will still be 2 or 3 years out, depending on their retirement date. This is where you should design a portfolio specifically with those withdrawal rates in mind. In other words, a bond ladder with different maturity dates that align with your tax plan and income needs. Number 6 is to finish off any final major expenses before the last spouse enters retirement. Maybe that's a kitchen rental that you've been thinking of, that new RV or boat that you've been eyeing up, or that bucket list trip you plan on taking the moment the last spouse retires. Now is the time to clean up and get ready for those final big purchases, or squirrel away a bit more short-term cash for those first few years of increased spending. Number 7, consider topping up RRSP accounts in those last few years. Now, this point may seem counterintuitive, as a lot of the planning I discuss is centered around how to get money out of the RRSP accounts, not adding to them the year or two before you retire. But in some scenarios, this may actually be a good option. This is especially true in the final year of working, where perhaps a bonus, a severance, or other large taxable distribution comes up that puts you into an even higher marginal tax rate. If this is the case, and through proper planning, you determine your future tax rate will actually be lower, this may be a great opportunity to save some tax now and defer it over the long run. Lastly, number 8 is developing an overall plan that brings all of these strategies together into a coordinated approach that looks to optimize things not only in those last few years of working, but also to optimize your next 30 years of retirement. When spouses retire at different times, it's easy to view those years as an awkward in-between stage. But in reality, they can be some of the most valuable planning years you'll ever have. They create opportunities that simply don't exist once both spouses have fully retired. Opportunities to reduce lifetime taxes, optimize government benefits, position your investments for future withdrawals, and ultimately create more financial flexibility for the years ahead. So if one of you is already retired while the other is counting down the days, don't think of yourselves as being out of sync. Think of this as a planning and overall retirement advantage. With the right strategy, those staggered retirement years can set the foundation for more confident, tax-efficient, and enjoyable retirement together. As always, if you're approaching retirement and want to make sure you're taking advantage of these planning opportunities, we'd be happy to help. Okay, so that will do it for today's episode. Here are your action items. First off, if you and your spouse are still working, I would strongly recommend you develop a staggered retirement approach if that is an option for your household. I think the psychological benefit for both spouses allow, for a bit more room to grow and adapt to this new reality versus both of you taking the plunge at the exact same time. So compare your retirement timelines and start to map it out. Next, make a list of your major purchases and expenses that you'll want to check the box on when the first spouse retires, all the way through the first few years of the second spouse's retirement. These will be a few of the boxes you will want to check while one of the spouses is still working. Lastly, if there's one thing I'd encourage you to do after today's episode, it's this. Don't let those staggered retirement years go to waste. Pull out a calendar, map out the next 5 years together, and identify where the planning opportunities exist. Those few years between retirements may end up being the most valuable planning window of your entire financial life. All right, so that'll do it for today's episode. Make sure you're adding us on all your socials. If you're enjoying the show, please leave us a review and subscribe in your favorite podcast app. Be sure that you're signed up for my weekly Retiring Canada newsletter. And hey, when it comes to your retirement, don't take chances. Make a plan so you can retire with confidence.
All comments are of a general nature and should not be relied upon as individual advice. The views and opinions expressed in this commentary may not necessarily reflect those of Harbourfront Wealth Management. While every attempt is made to ensure accuracy, facts and figures are not guaranteed. The content is not intended to be a substitute for professional investing or tax advice. Please seek advice from your accountant regarding anything raised in the content of the podcast regarding your individual tax situation. Always seek the advice of your financial advisor or other qualified financial service provider with any questions you may have regarding your investment planning.